Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. I know I am working on it, and we're going to talk about an interesting story today. So here's the story I've been thinking about since yesterday. In Joshua chapter 6, we have the story of Jericho. So I've been thinking about it because I was thinking, what was it like while you're walking around and not seeing anything happen? Oh, you probably already see where I'm going with it, right? The first day they get up, God tells them, I'm going to give you Jericho. Now, first off, I have questions, as always. Why didn't God just knock the walls down? Why didn't he just cause an earthquake and cause the walls to collapse? He could have just spoke to the walls and said, fall down, and they would have fell down. He could have blown on them. He blew on the Red Sea, right, to part it so that his people could go through on the dry. These same people, by the way, older generation, could go through on dry land. Why didn't he just blow on Jericho? Because what wall could hold God out? What wall could contain God, right? Nothing. He could have just, a flick of the finger, knocked down the whole walls of Jericho. But he didn't. He gave his people something specific to do, and he said, you're going to walk. You're going to walk with the front guard, the priest, my presence, my word, and the rear guard. And here's the hard part. Walking wasn't the hard part. Here's the hard part. The hard part was you don't speak. You walk around at one time a day for 6 days. On day 7, you walk around it 7 times, and then you shout. But you don't make a peep until that last day. I was like, man, what an interesting strategy, right? He didn't tell them to attack it. He literally told them to be quiet and just walk. So they walked around the first day, and I'm thinking as they're walking around that first day, did they get discouraged? Because they're like, oh, the walls aren't shaking. I don't see anything cracking. Literally nothing that they could see happened that first day to the walls of Jericho. Did they get discouraged and not want to go the second day? It was like, what is the point of this? Because nothing, it looks like nothing is happening. Is this, do we go ahead and go again tomorrow? Got to do this for 7 days. This is really boring right up front because nothing is happening. Not even a pebble is falling off the wall. The wall isn't cracking. The wall isn't shaking. The mortar seemed between the bricks seemed to be holding well. It seemed to be pointless. It seemed to be unproductive. It seemed to be totally a waste of time. But it wasn't. Day 7, they get up, they march around 7 times, they shouted to the Lord, and the walls fell down, except for where Rahab, the believing prostitute, lived, right? The prostitute turned believer, we'll put it that way, how's that, right? It all fell down. It was in their daily walk, just putting one step in front of the other. Just continuing to do what God said day after day, no matter what it looked like, no matter what it felt like, no matter how boring it seemed, no matter how ineffective it seemed, no matter how not working it seemed. They just kept doing what God said to do, and he gave them the victory. There could have been, God is infinite, so there could have been an infinite way to do this. God could have taken out Jericho in so many different ways. He chose their daily walk. Just go take a walk around Jericho. What a beautiful story, though. Right? Not if you're inside Jericho, it's not a beautiful story. Because inside Jericho, let's talk about that a second. The enemy was terrified. They, first off, that's what Rahab had told them. Rahab told them, we are terrified. We know your God's going to win. I know your God is going to win. I want to be on your side. So you've got all these people inside Jericho, and they're like, they are scared. But you know what? The people just walking around, carrying God's presence around and around, not saying a word, just walking with God around the walls of Jericho. They are just walking. They don't know the people inside are terrified. They don't know they're inside going, I don't know what we're going to do. Did the people inside Jericho think about leaving? Did they think about, they were so terrified they couldn't even think. Y'all, this is really a picture of our walk. We just do what God says day after day, whether it makes sense, whether we see the walls cracking or not, whether we see anything that seems productive or not, whether it seems like we're really doing anything for the kingdom or not. We just keep walking and carrying God's presence. Keep walking and just keep living out this word. Just live it out day after day. And what we can't see is our enemy is terrified. Oh, he doesn't want us to know that. He's never going to, well, he can't tell the truth anyway. So even if he was going to speak to us, he wouldn't tell us the truth, right? So our enemy is terrified when we just walk and carry God's presence. It's not a big fancy show. It's not charging the walls. It was just walking with God, doing what God said, carrying his presence around Jericho. And on the seventh day, they did it. Day after day, even though it looked unproductive, even though it looked pointless, even though it looked endless, even though it made them tired, even though it made them whatever, fill in the blank, they just kept doing it, and God brought the victory. And if we just keep walking with God, the walls of our Jerichos, our battles, our struggles are going to come down eventually too. We just keep walking, doing what God said, and carrying his presence with us. The ark representing God's presence, it was where God lived in the Old Testament. Basically, it contained the tablets. It contained the Aaron's bud that his rod that budded, his bud that rotted. Wait, the rod that budded, right? That began to sprouted. I should say it that way, maybe. Right? It contained some manna. It contained the essence of God, his word, his life, and his bread. That's all. He is the bread of life. We have life in him, and now he writes his word on our hearts because we are the container for this presence of God. We are the covenant. We are the ark of the covenant, so to speak, because we contain his presence. We contain his life. We contain his spirit. So we just got to keep walking around Jericho. Keep walking and doing what he says, carrying his presence. We don't have to say anything unless he gives us something to say, because on the last day, he told them to shout, and they shouted, and the walls came down. They didn't command the walls. He didn't say, command the walls to fall. He didn't tell them that. He didn't say, confess it until you see it, right? Blab it and grab it. He didn't say, confess it until you see it. He just said, walk. Just walk with me, and I will take the walls down. That's how we fight our battle. Just obeying God and praising God. That's how we fight our battle. Just that daily walk of carrying God with us and going back to his word, going back to this bread of life, and reminding ourselves that we are his vessel. He lives in us now. We're that ark that he put his presence in us. That's where he abides now. We're just carrying that everywhere we go. And even if we can't see it, it's terrifying to the enemy to know that all of us are waking up and going, God lives inside of me. All I got to do is walk with him. Go where he says to go, sit down when he says to sit down, walk around the walls when he says walk around, relax when he says relax, and let him fight my battles. The fight is just our faith, believing and trusting when we can't see the walls falling. We can't see the enemy sitting in there trembling and shaking in their boots, but God is at work. That's how we just keep walking it out and knowing that he's got us covered just that day after day. And those walls will eventually come down. Whether we maybe not be on our timing. Why didn't he just have them do it one day? He could have done it in one day. He could have just had them go out there and stand and blast the trumpets and brought them down. He brought the giant down with one little stone. He has all these different ways of defeating the enemy. We never know how he's going to move, how he's going to work. But we do know that he gives us the victory day after day over our enemies, over fear, over doubt, over unbelief, over all these things that come at us every single day, right? Because what do we contain? His peace. He already gave us his peace. The kingdom of God is righteousness. He made us righteous. Peace and joy. We can walk in joy knowing that God's got us covered and he's going to lead us around those walls until they fall. There's no defeat here. He didn't make a plan to fail. He didn't make a plan for us to be defeated. He always plans for victory. All we got to do is walk and follow him and do what he says. I'm glad he's got my back. As a matter of fact, that's why I can peace out today, because I know he's got my back. He's got my back today, and I'm going to trust him with everything that gets put on my plate. Peace out, you guys. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.